Hi guys, here we go. I'm going to try out my first video with reading. I am Lavina Cumming. So we left off on chapter 12, which was Arabian Nights. So I'm going to see if I can go ahead and read 2 chapters for each video. And then that'll get us through the book by the end of the week. And then we're going to start a new book next week. Okay, so this is chapter 12, Arabian Nights. On Christmas morning, Lavina's stocking was lumpy, and beside it lay a square, flat package. A book, she thought. She propped up the new doll to watch as she emptied the stocking into her lap. An apple, almonds, round white candies with little red flowers in the center, a new collar edged in lace, pink and yellow ribbon candy, walnuts, a bag of jacks, and a tiny red rubber ball, and, wedged in the toe, a glossy orange that left an oily perfume on Lavina's fingertips. "We're rich," she told the doll. "But I can't call you Dolly. You need your own special name." "What?" "Oh, yes, you're right. I forgot to open the package." The book was old, worn into curves at the corner. She lifted the dark red cover and read in a formal handwriting, much like Father's, "Agnes Cumming." Below that was written in fresh ink, "To Lavina Cumming, Christmas 1905. Beneath that, the title of the book was printed, Arabian Nights. And below that, she saw a small picture of a genie emerging from a lamp. She turned the page and read, "Once there was a magnificent and cruel Sultan of Persia who married a new wife every evening and beheaded her at sunrise the following morning again and again until the day on which he married a girl as wise as she was beautiful, named Scheherazade. Now Scheherazade, unlike all the other brides before her, had a plan. An hour before daybreak on the following morning, her younger sister knocked on the door, as Scheherazade had told her to do, and asked, 'My dear sister, tell me, I pray you, before the sun rises, tell me one of your charming stories. It is the last time I shall have the privilege of hearing you.' The Sultan gave permission. So Scheherazade began, 'Lavina, Lavina, wake up! What did you get in your stocking?' It was Aggie, her hair tangled and her mouth full of candy. 'I got a book, too, but mine has pretty pictures,' Aggie said. 'It's Cinderella.' After church, serious cooking began. Bridget was roasting a goose, and Aunt Agnes was making pies, and even Cousin Maud bustled around in an apron, taking an unusual interest in the hot and greasy parts of dinner. Lavina hid in the parlor and devoured Shahrazad's tale of Merchant and the Genie. Just as the genie poised his terrible curved scimitar over the merchant's neck and threatened to cut his head off, the sun came up. The rest of her story was even more wonderful. Scheherazade said, if only the Sultan would allow her to live another day to tell it. At this crucial moment, Lavina had to hide her book. Freddie Moberly and his father knocked at the door, carrying a huge bouquet of flowers and an equally oversized box of chocolates. Mr. Moberly sported a fine, long, bristly mustache, and he smelled like cigar smoke, something of which Aunt Agnes disapproved almost as much as intoxicating liquor. But she welcomed him anyway, and Lavina stood by to enjoy the sight of a man and a boy again. "Oh, really, Mr. Moberly, you shouldn't have," exclaimed Cousin Maud, accepting the flowers. Lavina noticed that she had taken off her apron and changed into her second-best lavender silk dress. "We are so delighted to have you and Freddie as our guests. Now, children," she went on, "you may each have one chocolate, so as not to spoil your dinners, and then run along and play nicely together." "Well, he's not going near my dolls," hissed Aggie. Freddie looked ill at ease. In spite of his little Lord Fauntleroy collar and his short pants, which her brothers would despise, Lavina knew that he was no sissy. He reminded her of John. "Let's go outside," she suggested. There were some trees in Aunt Agnes's yard, that Lavina had wanted to climb ever since she came to Vine Street. Quick as a monkey, Freddie scampered up the tallest oak, and Lavina followed, picking her holds more cautiously since she was heavier, until she climbed high enough to look inside her room. She hadn't realized that the big brick chimney ran up the wall so close to her window, towering directly over the roof of her little attic bedroom. "I'm not going to tear my dress," called Aggie from the ground. "I'm not going to get in trouble." Lavina knew that if you were careful, you didn't tear your dress or get in trouble either. She and Freddie landed safely at the bottom, dusted off their hands, and began to explore an interesting sheltered spot beneath a plum tree. "This is a good fort," said Freddie, crawling in. "I have a place like this at home," said Lavina. "It's where I keep my special rocks. Around it is my own country, Lavina-landia, with mountains and rivers and sultans and genies and slaves who turn into princesses. Sometimes I just sit there quietly and the birds come and sing to me. And pack rats creep right up to me. And a Gila monster, too." "What's that?" "Oh, an animal about so big, like a little alligator with a pretty beaded skin. If they bite you, you're dead." "Golly," said Freddie. Aggie had tagged along and stood outside the tree to listen. "But my monster would never hurt me. I named her Esmeralda." "What else do you have?" "A big, brown, hairy, scary tarantula. A giant spider as big as a saucer covered with fur." "Holy gee!" "Liar, liar, pants on fire," cried Aggie. Lavina solemnly crossed her heart. "It's all true. And my brother John has a fort, too. That's where he keeps his horses." "Horses?" said Freddie. "How many?" "Oh, 7 or 8, said Lavina airily. "I can't remember all their names." "His very own?" Lavina nodded. She did not explain, however, that John's very own horses were a collection of special dry branches with curved ends. Every one did have a name, and John loved to groom and ride and talk to them. "I have a horse myself. Chummy's his name, because he's so gentle. He's a black Mustang pony." "Gosh," marveled Freddie. "We just have an old mare, but my dad says we might get an automobile soon." "Really?" asked Aggie. "Dinner time!" cried Cousin Maud from the front door. They brushed themselves off, but somehow Freddie had gotten very muddy. Fortunately, the grown-ups were feeling indulgent that Christmas Day. Plates were filled and refilled with delicious things, from cream of tomato soup to slices of goose, which tasted like the dark meat of chicken, Lavina discovered. At last, Bridget brought in the pudding, the pies, mince and cherry, and the fruitcake. Then Lavina remembered her family in Arizona, and she felt another pang at her heart. She had heard nothing from her father or her brothers at Christmas. No letter, no card, no present. It was true that they never had many presents at the ranch, but still she felt neglected. Or could it be that something was wrong? After dinner, Mr. Moberly and the ladies drank tea, and Cousin Maud forced Aggie to play checkers with Freddie. Lavina slipped away into a parlor chair again and disappeared into the world of Arabian Nights. Magicians turned people into cows, black dogs and red deer. Fishermen caught bottles full of genies. Carpets flew. Poor woodcutters discovered caves piled with gold and jewels. Cut-off heads continued to speak, and Sherazade saved her own head over and over again. "She cheated." "Did not." "She moved that checker. I saw her." "You moved it yourself." "Let her win, son," said Mr. Moberly. "What does it matter?" "Agnes," said Cousin Maud in an unfamiliar firm voice, "put the checker back and finish the game properly." Lavina felt Aunt Agnes's eyes upon her, and she laid the book down guiltily. Until now, her aunt had sipped her tea in silence across the room. "Do you like it, Lavina?" "Oh, yes, Aunt Agnes, it's wonderful." "I have always liked it myself," said Aunt Agnes. "I remember reading those stories for the first time in a dirty yellow book with very small type. Have you had a happy Christmas, my dear?" Lavina nodded, but there was a lump in her throat. Except I wonder how they are at home. Aunt Agnes frowned. But didn't you get your letter, child? It came yesterday. Cousin Maud's hands flew to her mouth. Oh dear, I'm sorry, Mother. In all the excitement over the Christmas tree, I forgot to give it to Lavina. Now, where did I put it? Oh, yes, here it is on the piano. In a flash, Lavina had seized it. The thick brown envelope obviously contained more than just a letter. What is it? Clamored Aggie, abandoning the checker game. Aunt Agnes said, Go read it quietly in the dining room, dear. You stay here, Aggie, and defend yourself. I see that Freddie is about to jump every piece you have left. Dear Dottie, I'm sorry that this Christmas greeting comes so late. The rains have been very heavy here. When we went to Squashville last week to get the mail, Tom and I found an enormous flood coming down the Santa Cruz River. Quickly, we grabbed the package that you sent us and hurried back to the ranch ahead of the water. We barely made it. We could hear it roaring towards us. In great haste, we collected the other boys and loaded the wagon with hay, grain, groceries, and bedrolls, and the Christmas package. In the kitchen, we had a box with a setting hen in it, so we lifted her, box and all, on top of the dish cupboard to escape the flood. Then we harnessed the horses and took to the hills. We found a level little mesa top where I sit writing at this moment. We've camped here for 2 days already while we wait for the flood to go down. Now your brothers will each send you a Christmas greeting. Tom wrote, Sis, your fruitcake saved our lives. We almost finished it. Bill added, Your own Christmas present is down at the ranch. Hope it's still dry. Jim scrawled, Merry Christmas. John wrote next, I'm writing now, back home again after 3 days and 3 nights like old Noah or something. Guess what, the settin' hen hatched out her chicks while we were gone. Gosh, were they hungry, and that old hen was mad. We ate up the fruit cake and all the crumbs. Thanks, sis. Chummy is fine, you might want to know. In straggling letters across the bottom of the page was printed the word J-O-E, Joe, and Father finished the letter. I enclosed a small remembrance for you, Dottie, to remind you of home. Of course, it was taken before the flood. The watermarks on the walls show that the river ran a foot and a foot and a half deep throughout the house, but luckily my desk stayed dry. The well was flooded too, so we shall boil our drinking water for some time to come. I am happy to think of you safe and comfortable with your aunt in California. The Christmas present was a photograph. It showed your father, Tom, Bill, John, Jim, and Joe, some of them on horseback and some on foot, standing with 2 or 3 dogs under the cottonwoods in front of the Bosque Ranch house. In the background, there was a small shadow. After staring at it hard, Lavina felt almost certain that it was Lou's. That was chapter 12. We're on chapter 13. And see, it's kind of a long one. We've already been reading for 13 minutes. So I think I'm going to stop there and we'll read this chapter tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoy that. Yeah, it seems that these chapters are a little bit longer, so I might have to just do one video per chapter, but that's okay. If there's some shorter chapters, I'll include those in one session, but we'll just stop there today since this was my first YouTube video. Hope you enjoyed it.